Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about male and female engineers. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, I am a male software engineer. Is it right for me to not want to work on a team that has no female engineers? I don't know if I can formulate an answer to that because right or wrong, I suppose that that's very individual. I don't think that there is a right or wrong element to this. If we, I mean, sure, we could make this a right or wrong question by picking a very specific, from my perspective, philosophical standpoint. Because the only moral or ethical question that I can imagine in this scenario would have been if you made the conscious choice to not support a a way of working or a company or an organization that doesn't very strictly follow the quality movements around the world, where sure you could make yeah, but even that is there's a lot of assumptions in depending, as I said, it depends on how far you want to stretch this, because yes, in a worst case scenario you could say that yes, it is morally bad or it's not right for you to be part of an all male team in a company who is not actively trying to help the situation with women's equality. That could be something, but I think that that is a little bit of a stretch, because the thing is, the the reality is that it's rare. It's to find good software developers, and a company on average is not a. I mean, of course, if you bend their arm, and some of them are, they are not about politics in the way in the traditional sense. It doesn't really matter what type of politics. They're out to make money. They're out to make pragmatic decisions that is going to further their own agenda. And you will find that the norm is that you have an all male software team. It's actually extraordinarily rare that you find female developers, unless you work in very specific companies or so forth. But even I would say, even if you go to the highest the highest top tech companies in the world, you're going to find that it's dominated by men. But on the other hand, you could take a look at, say, nursing, if you want to see that ratio switch in the in the opposite direction. So it really comes down to it's rare that I find that it's so easy and clean cut to say that the gender discrimination, well, it's only in favor of one gender, because it very much depends on more complicated issues than, oh, you're a man or you're a woman or something like that. It usually comes down to a combination of culture and value systems that is much more complicated than that you're not allowing women or you're not allowing men to be part of the situation. Because I mean, if you want to have a really scary work environment, then try to be a kindergarten teacher as a man. It depends on where you are in the world, of course, but statistically, the odds of you being accused of pedophilia or going to prison for such a crime is fairly high, whereas it's almost non-existent if you're a woman. And so this equality thing, there is a movement that is important to try to solve these sorts of issues, but it's very rare that is as simple as I'm that it's very rare that it's just about the fact that certain people are not trying to solve the issue. It's a very complicated issue, and so sure, you can take the position that is like that's your angle, that you want to work with female coworkers. But I mean, you're not this the person in question here is not explicitly stating that if it's not if I don't know why do you have this requirement, why do you feel that you want to work with female engineers, because this question is very much open to interpretation. For all I know, you want to work with female engineers because you're looking for a wife, or because you, I don't know, you feel that you need female influence in your everyday work life, which is another thing that I find interesting, because that's I mean, if that's not sexist, I don't know what is. Why in the world you would you think that just because you have a female coworker that something is going to be worse or better? I've had a few talks with my female coworkers that where, you know, when our manager has at that point gone out and said that, oh yeah, we're gonna have more female coworkers, and I kind of go, so what you're saying is that you're more interested in the fact that they have a vagina than the fact that they're good at what they do. Would you feel comfortable saying that to a female employee, that the primary reason why you got your job is because you are a woman, not because we think that you're good, but because you're a woman? That in of itself, I would say, is it's a little bit demeaning, I would say, or patronizing, because there are very, very good female developers who are good, regardless of if you're like, the gender doesn't factor in. They're extremely good at what they do. So it really is a tricky question for me to answer whether it's the right or wrong. I think that it comes down to a personal choice that you are making, and you, of course, make up your own reasons why you're making that choice. So what I want you to take away from this is that you can absolutely take the standpoint that you want to work with a more diverse team dynamic. If you want to work with people of, you know, I mean, it's very common in IT that you work with people from different nationalities all across the world. The gender thing is definitely a factor. It is much more common to work with an all male setup or team composition than it is to work with even a single female. I don't think I've ever even heard about a full female team. Maybe in a few, once or twice I've heard about it. I've never seen it, and it's rare to have any female coworkers as a software developer, at least in the engineering department. I mean, even in an IT company, there are many roles, and there's a lot of women working in IT. Just not all. It's not as common in the engineering department. That's all I'm saying. And whether that's right or wrong, I don't think that you can formulate the question that way, because it's more complicated than an ethical question. And if it's not an ethical question for you, I think that if then I leave it to you to make that decision. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't think that you can look at it that way, because you have your own reasons as to why you want to work with female coworkers. And I believe that as long as we treat people with respect and we actually give them a chance to show us what they know, then usually you'll find that it's never really a matter of the gender. It's about the person, and I think that that is a much more healthy way of looking at it. Try to find people who you work really well with and that you can learn from, regardless of if it's a man or a woman. Have a great day.